And we are live on the Startup Innovators Premier podcast, where we look at the stories of early stage venture funded companies. And today I am super excited for the first one because we've got Marianne Becker, who is really kind of becoming a dynamic force in the tech ecosystem based out here in San Francisco. And her organization and business she started is dedicated to accelerating lots of different startups, particularly AI. And she's also a champion of diversity. So she's a managing partner of Founders Bay, where she leads a community of 45,000 founders and VCs, offering a variety of things, including curated events, expert workshops, networking opportunities locally, potentially virtually. And she's got an amazing newsletter that I want everybody to subscribe to, which we'll talk about later. I get it. It's pretty incredible. Marianne is also the founder of what's called the Women's Founders Bay, which is one of the largest networks for female tech entrepreneurs, where they provide mentorship and resources to empower women in tech. Pretty cool, girl power. Marianne had been a tech executive before, building a number of high performing teams at startups like New Relic and MindBody, leading engineering, and she would participated in 4 acquisitions and an IPO. She also founded Upward, which is a boutique recruiting agency connected with startups. So Marianne, really pumped to have you because although this podcast is going to look at individual stories of companies that have been funded and are kind of just starting out, I love the fact that you're actually building an entire ecosystem for these companies. And for those that are not aware of what you're doing and what you built in really just less than a year, it's absolutely incredible. And we're going to talk about that. You've got the newsletter, you've got these organizations, you've got these killer parties that are a lot of fun, where we're bringing kind of the social aspect back to networking in addition to just kind of the professional kind of business doing pitches. And you've even raised, I guess it's an angel fund. I guess I've read it's over 100 million now in commitments, which is amazing for companies that are looking to do seed rounds and Series A co-participation rounds. So awesome to have you. Let's talk now about everything that you're doing, so we can get any would-be entrepreneur or early stage person needs to be part of this network. So let's start off with a basic question, a little bit of an intro, and why did you start Founders Bay?
Yeah, and thank you for having me. All right, so very simple. I used to lead engineering teams here in the Bay Area, and then I was able to build in my last company a team of 55% women engineers. So I've dedicated the majority of my career to really promoting women in tech. Then I started Upward Recruiting as a new company to help companies hire more women engineers, but that company grew really fast. And then when you switch from engineering and entrepreneurship, there's all these skill sets that you don't know about. So I wanted to meet other founders who've had those experiences, who can mentor me, who can help me grow my company, and who I could connect with. So I started going to all these different types of events, of founder events. One, they were really hard to find out about them. And two, there weren't many women there. So I'm like, well, where are the women founders? How come women are not part of the event? And then I realized one of the reason why is because those events are not broadcasted anywhere. It's really hard to find a list of all the events happening. So then I started my newsletter called Founders Bay to really start reporting on all the events happening in the Bay Area for all the founders, because events is really where you grow your network, which is so important when you have your company. So that's really how I started Founders Bay, and we quickly grew to 45,000 members strong now.
Well, going out and networking and meeting different people does not get you to 45,000 people in a year. That's amazing. And anyone that's tried to build up a newsletter or build a presence in terms of a connection network on LinkedIn, it's a long, slow, arduous process. All right. So, how on earth did you get 45,000 members in 1 year?
Yeah. So anytime there's a product that grows fast, there's this thing called the flywheel effect, right? Can you build a flywheel where everything kind of exponentially grows over time? And that's really what I did with Founders Bay and Women Founders Bay. So how I started out is I started posting content on LinkedIn. I said, okay, I'm going to build my following. At this point, I probably had 3,000 followers on LinkedIn, maybe a couple hundred on Twitter. And then then in order to do that, I started thinking, okay, well, what am I super passionate about? What is my personal brand going to be? And what do I care about? I always cared about diversity. I always cared about promoting more women in tech. So then I started doing a lot of content around women and diversity and building a startup as a woman. And that content really started resonating with my audience, which are women founders. Then what I did is that it was actually very strategic. When you want to grow on social media, it's not a random game. You actually have to follow like an algorithm that I can talk about. And the first one
Sure.
is like figuring out, well, first, what social media are you going to start with, right? Is it going to be LinkedIn? Is it going to be Twitter? Is it going to be on Instagram? And that really depends on what you like. So I don't like taking pictures. I never really like taking pictures. Twitter is all short form and you have to do engagement every day and every like couple of hours. But I'm a single mom of two, so I don't have time for that. But I found LinkedIn because LinkedIn, I love to write, and then you only have to post like 3 or 4 times a week. So once you identify the social media, the next thing I did was like, okay, well, who is my target audience, right? Is it women founders? Is it women in tech? Is it women engineers? And I really narrow it down to kind of 2 potential ICPs. And then I started looking at who are they following? Who are those women? Who are the influencers for women founders? Who are the influencers for women engineers? And what are they posting about? And who are their audience? And then you start following them and you start commenting on their posts and you start following their followers to kind of start getting noticed in that circle. So through that strategy, and then I A/B tested a lot of content, I started growing my LinkedIn. And then from LinkedIn, anytime I had a article, then I started posting a link to my newsletter. Hey, subscribe to my newsletter. And at first for my newsletter, I probably had like 20 subscribers. And those were my friends and my family that I went and I forced to subscribe to. And I was still happy with my 20 subscribers. Then I figured, okay, well, what is the piece of content that I can always share and that's always going to be relevant? So I started reporting on the events that are happening, and I started also posting that event list on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn pointed to the newsletter. So then I started getting like a few thousand subscribers, and because I was giving actual information, which is like the events happening,
Yeah.
people started, especially women, started referring my newsletter to others. So I had tons of new referrals come in. And then now you have like social media, you have your newsletter, the social media feed the newsletter. The other component that I added was in-person events. So I started throwing in-person events, and they started becoming bigger and bigger. And every time there was people subscribing to my event, then they started being followers on LinkedIn and they started being followers in my newsletter. So now you have this flywheel where events lead to more subscribers, subscriber leads to more followers, and followers leads to more engagement, and then you start growing. And then I started having like viral content grow. But most importantly, I think I attribute my success to partnership that I did. I started partnering with other event organizers in the city,
Mm.
and we started like cross promoting our events. And then I reached probably like 30,000 subscribers. And then we did a mega, mega, mega tech summit and party called the Giga Party on January 31st. That went viral and we sold out even before the promo were out. And because of that, I was able to grow my newsletter from 30,000 to 45,000 subscribers. And now we're doing another Giga Party on April 24th, which I'm super excited about, which is basically a first of its kind tech summit from 6 to 10, where we bring in all the biggest VCs, and 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., we just party with like amazing DJs.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I've seen videos. Unfortunately, I missed the first one. Hopefully, I can make this one. But I love that idea because I'll say 10 years ago, before the pandemic, when San Francisco had had its original kind of rebirth in tech, it was the social scene was a big part of it. You kind of knew everybody, and it wasn't just about pitching deals and seeing what you can offer me or I can offer you. A lot of it was let's go out and just have a lot of fun together. It's a young community. A lot of people were moving to to the south part of the city, right, and just having a great time. And I feel like that spirit is back and that energy is back, and that's going to draw a lot of young people out to this. I also love the fact I can see now why it's grown because so many newsletters are they're kind of giving advice or they're telling a story or they're making an observation, sharing wisdom. That's all great. But there's nothing that is like directly actionable from it. But yours is directly actionable. Not only are there, because here's where the events are, and every month there's new events, and you want to know what they are. So this is kind of becoming the place to go to figure it out. I mean, I actually, when I look at different networking events or different things to do, I just go to your newsletter now because it's all there in one place and it's not cluttered with like a bunch of other stuff. And like you said, your ICP is probably my ICP, right? I mean, I run a recruiting firm for 25 years, and we work with early stage venture funded companies. And a lot of times we begin those conversations before they even do a seed round, right? They're just the dialogue's talking. It's like, where can we get together to explore energy, to explore creativity, to kind of talk about, what resources are needed. A lot of people, they want to start a new company, a new business. They're not really sure how to do it, or they don't know, how do I get all these resources, and how do I get the best resources, like the best lawyer, right? The best accountant, the best recruiters, the best investors. How do I even get on their radar screen when I don't know anyone? Well, this is a great opportunity to learn and to actually go to the events and make those connections, and do it in a fun social way. So it's pretty incredible. How do you see this organization, Founders Bay, and this flywheel that you've created? How do you see that directly helping early stage companies or entrepreneurs that are thinking about getting into the game?
Yeah, in a few different ways. The first one, we give them, as you said, a list of events that they can go to. They can meet other founders. They can meet VCs. So just access to a network. Even let's say they just moved in here to the Bay Area, or they were engineers like me, and they don't really have an entrepreneurship network, right? We give them a point of entry from the start. The second part is we throw our own events, and in every single event that we throw, we probably have over 25% to 50% of the attendees be VCs. And I think that's the key point. And now we started bringing in family offices as well. So we are actually putting you in front of the funders. We are putting you in front of the family offices. We are giving you a platform where you can go, you can ask questions about your startups, and you're going to receive good feedback. So that's a second part, our own events. The third part is we started doing this virtual accelerator. One of the things that I realized is that, let's say you want to get information about how to run a startup. There's so much information out there, but it's very disjointed. It's not always relevant to our current times. And yes, you can watch videos, but AI just started. So a lot of videos don't even account for that. And then your other your alternative is to go to an accelerator, but those have specific cohort. They're very hard to get into, and then you have that to decade like 4 months. So we started doing virtual workshops. So almost every day we bring in experts like yourself to really talk about different things about startups, from recruiting to running operations to raising fundings. And every single day we have workshops to be able to do that. A lot of our workshops are free, but some of them, if you join as a growth member and you pay like $19 a month, which is almost nothing, you get access to all of our workshops for free. So that's the third way, which we actually provide you the educational content to be able to grow your startup. And fourth is, because we've been throwing these events, we throw these like in-person events every single week. We really became a community. Founders Bay, we're like a huge family now. You always meet the same founders, you meet the same VCs that are here to help you. And then whatever you need help with, we have a WhatsApp community for you. We're just making it that being a founder is no longer lonely, because suddenly you have 45,000 people who are behind you, who want to support you. And I think that's my favorite part, is like the support of the community.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing. And I have to tell you, for anyone watching this, um, $20 a month or whatever is such a cheap date. If you asked a founder, what would you be willing to pay to just have a meeting with person XYZ? And people would pay hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars if it's the right contact point. And so that opportunity is there for you. I also think knowing, having worked with so many startup companies for over 25 years, you get a diversity of founders. Of course, there are people that came out of sales and marketing who have no problem whatsoever, working through a network, or working an event, let's say, right, building that up. But an awful lot of people came out of product or engineering, and they maybe didn't have experience kind of doing that at that outbound kind of forward, where you've got to go up, shake someone's hand, make an introduction. And it's very intimidating. A lot of people would rather just be doing it from a computer, but the reality is I think almost everybody, when they're in person, you grow and you learn a lot. And I think also you gain that experience. And if you're going to do a startup, you're going to have to be meeting with everybody. You're going to have to constantly be selling yourself, right? Selling people on why they should work for you, selling people why they should invest in you or dedicate their time. Um, why they should believe in your vision. And that's not an easy thing to do. You just don't go up there and give a presentation. It is definitely a skill, and it's a skill that anybody can learn. And going to these networking events and having so many, like you said, we've got so many opportunities to go out there and practice, either for free or a very small amount of money. I think it's an amazing opportunity for people. You don't want to show up for your first big venture pitch, right? And it's your first, second, or third. You want to have had a lot of experience working with people, handling objections. I also love this idea that people ask me, like, well, when I first had that meeting with the VC, um, what should I ask them? What are they going to ask me? How should I sit? How should I stand? Right? I had a great pod on the Venture Victory pod with Tim Draper, and we just dropped that today. But Tim had talked a lot about Draper University and how he intentionally will sometimes kind of try to ruffle the feathers of the person making the pitch, not to be a jerk, but to see how they handle pressure. Um, they will even do scenarios where the AV equipment goes down and the whole pitch that had been memorized, practiced with slides and guidance, that's gone. And now you've got that meeting. You can't waste that one in a million opportunity. And now you've got to kind of go from the gut. Can you do it? So this idea of going out there and talking to so many other founders and saying, you know, what killed you in those first investor presentations? What should I look for? What are the potential shortfalls? And getting that collective wisdom in is pretty incredible. And I think, wow, 45,000 people. And of course, from the moment I met you, you're so open, you're so willing to share. I mean, I really felt that passion of you wanting to help these companies kind of get launched. And so one of the things that comes up all the time with any startup company is funding. And you have raised, again, I thought creating a 45,000 person network in a year was an unbelievable accomplishment. And this is honestly, I've seen so many things, but to raise or get commitments for at least $100 million angel fund, that makes the 45,000 person network look like child's play. So let's hear about that fund. How large is it? What type of investments will you make in it? And how on earth did you raise that much money?
Yeah, so we haven't raised yet, but I can tell you a little bit what happened and the
Sure.
backstory. So, um, we have so many amazing startups in the community that are raising funding. So I talked to my business partner, Christopher Floyd, and we said, okay, well, what if we do kind of an angel funding where we, identify a few deal flow and then we get the community to fund these startups. And then we start like a small angel fund. Let's try it out. Let's see what we could do with it. So then during the Giga party, we announced that angel fund. And then I said, well, whoever is interested, you can go and you can apply in this form to say that you are interested in investing in that angel fund. And then suddenly we started getting, and then I also added it in the newsletter, and I believed we got like $30 million in interest. And 30 million for an angel fund is too large. Like you can't do an angel fund 30 million. It's a lot of money. So I'm like, okay, well, what if we explore doing a VC fund instead? So then we put that in the next newsletter edition, like, hey, okay, we're thinking of doing a VC fund. If you want to be an LP, apply here. Go to foundersbay.com/invest and just put your name there. And then we got another 70 million in interest. And then I put a
That's
LinkedIn
incredible.
post and we started getting more and more interest. So those are not hard commitment. Obviously, we still need to qualify them. And then we're like, okay, well, we're doing a VC fund. So now we're working on our thesis. We're almost done with it. Basically, what we want to do is like I really believe that now we are in one of the biggest renaissance that humanity has seen. Similar, it's going to be even bigger than when the internet happened. And that's because of the AI. And I don't know if you remember, but during the internet boom, a lot of the trillionaires now happen because they invested back then in this new little thing called the internet. So I truly believe that right now we're going to see a like the next trillionaires, the next billionaires are going to be the ones who invest in AI. It's going to really revolutionize the world. And that's what we want to do. We want to invest in technologies that we thought were not possible even a few years ago, but are now possible because of AI. So things like longevity. I believe that in a few years, we will be able to live healthier and much, much longer than we can now because of AI. I believe that humanoids are going to start walking around us, and I believe that there are going to be agents everywhere doing all the work for us that we used to do manually on the computer. And that's what we want to invest in. So I'm super excited about the fund because it's really investing, but also creating the future.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And not only is AI kind of powering this new and potentially the greatest renaissance we've ever had, but the companies don't need a lot of employees in some cases. So huge amounts of wealth in terms of equity value can be created with a small handful of people. And less developers now, as developers are going to be more leading AI based engineers in the future. So I think that's super exciting. And I think um, the return on investment for some of these companies is going to be huge, and it's going to be a much tighter ROI because the time to profitability is going to be much quicker because the number of employees and infrastructure is going to be a lot smaller. So I think that's super exciting. So let's talk a little bit about diversity as well. I think that's important because that is the genesis of you starting it. And like I said, my wife's in tech. I got a bunch of daughters and cousins, and most people in my family they're all female. So look, regardless of political opinion, whether DEI is something or DEI was in and now it's out, it doesn't change anything, right? I mean, for 20 years, people have said, why aren't there more women in tech? And we need to get more women in tech. And today, when you even look at the number of graduates coming out as undergrads, I think it's more women graduating than men. So it seems like what is what has been the traditional barrier to getting more women in tech? Is it just kind of the culture of doing it, or the interest, or what is it exactly?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So when I was studying in engineering 13 years ago, 15 years ago, um, in the entire engineering building, there was maybe one or two other women with me. And most of the time, I found myself being the only woman in the entire building. And when I graduated software engineering, there was only one woman graduating with me. Um, so really, in the past, there wasn't a lot of women going into software engineering. So as a result, if you look at the tech executives now, then of course it's more male dominated because traditionally there wasn't a lot of women going into engineering. Now we're seeing more and more women going into computer science, going into coding, which has been great to see. But still, if you look at the management roles, if you look at the director of engineering role, if you look at the CEO roles, women are almost not represented there. So we really need to change and to empower women and also companies to promote more women. And there's also a lot of unconscious bias that exists. For example, when it comes to a promotion, for example, a woman will be judged on what she accomplished, while a man is judged on his potential. So what
Mm,
that means is that if somebody believes that that man has the potential to be a manager, they will promote them. But for a woman, she has to prove that she is doing that job. So the promotion cycle is much, much longer, and women still have to work much harder to get the same promotion. So that's one of the issues. And the second thing is because there's not a lot of women in tech leadership role, then you don't really have a role model to look up to, right? And then having a role model and having that confidence to go and say, hey, I want to be that. I want to be the CEO. I want to be the director of engineering. I see myself represented, and then I will work hard to get there. If you don't have a
yeah.
role model, then it's harder to like make that leap and have that confidence. So that's one other problem. But I think one of the problems that I'm focused on is in terms of like company creation. So if we want more women to be CEOs, we want more women to grow companies that are successful. So we have more women CEOs who are founders. But currently, if you're looking at the ecosystem, even though women start 50% of all businesses in the US, we are still receiving less than 2% of all the funding. So that something is broken in the system and we need to change that. And with Founders Bay, even though it's both men and women, what we do is we really improve the visibility of the women there. So we put them on panels, we put them in speaker roles. We put all the VCs, all the women VCs as judges. So we are really trying to showcase that, hey, the tech industry is diverse because there's so many women doing incredible things, and we're trying to give them a voice so that they get the visibility. And then we start changing that stereotype that, hey, founders are all men. No, we are here, we exist, we just need more capital to grow our business.
Yeah, I think also in an information tech age, I mean, your physical body doesn't, it's all about brain power, right? And that's a
Exactly.
highly individualized thing. It has nothing to do with gender. And I think my takeaway from this, which is most empowering thing, is you kind of have to, to really be inspired, to have true belief. It's so helpful to be able to make that connection with someone that was on the same path at one time. Well, I say, hey, if that person from the neighborhood can make it, then I know I can make it. And so I love this idea of being able to take, women, females, young girls who are aspiring to be able to, again, to see real people that have gone down this path and made it, as opposed to like that one token person, to see the venture investors, to see the lawyers, to see the people that are judging in the pitches, and then to see this huge community of tens of thousands of women. And so, I think it's super exciting. I've got one daughter who is going to be a commercial jumbo jet pilot. That's what she's wanted from the time she was 5, which you don't see a lot. There's only, I think, like 12% in of airline pilots are female. So I've got that going. I've got a daughter about to graduate, and she's thinking about maybe doing technology internships over the summer. She looks for something new. So I think all this is super exciting for families. And I want to say, I appreciate you doing this. It's an amazing story that you jumped into this and built this so quickly in just a year. So amazing. Where do you see the organization going in the future now? I mean, it's been a year. It's like nothing. You've accomplished so much. What's the vision for like 3 years? We'll just say 3 years out at this point.
Yeah, definitely. So right now we are currently only in the Bay Area. I believe we capture almost every founder and VC. We want to continue capturing any new entrepreneur that is starting. We want to continue promoting women and grow that community as well. But we also want to expand beyond the Bay Area. We understand innovation right now is happening all over the world. It's happening in New York. I was just in Florida. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in
Austin.
Europe. In Austin, exactly. So
Yeah.
many amazing places. So we want to be able to expand first nationally and then globally with our messaging that, hey, having a community where women are really represented, having a truly diverse community that's there for every single person in it is possible. And we want to continue doing that. For the fund, I would love to see the fund invest in at least also 50% female founders, but most importantly, getting those female founders to exit so then they can go and they can then fund even more women. So that's my goal with Founders Bay. With the startup, I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm doing more and more events, and yeah, I'm very excited for the future.
What's amazing. So for anyone who wants to participate in Founders Bay, let's talk about the best ways. And I'll put these in the show notes too with the links for everything. But where do they find the newsletter and where do they find you?
Yep. So you can go to foundersbay.com, and you can subscribe. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active, Marianne Becker. You can follow me there and on Instagram. And then come to our Giga party on April 24th. Just go to gigaparty.ai and yeah, join that. It's an epic event like no other. So those are
Yeah, I
the
mean,
three ways.
if you want to come to San Francisco or the Bay Area and you're saying, "Hey, I got to get out there. I got to plan a trip. You should plan it around the Giga party because that is going to be kind of the coup d'état at the end of the event." And so for anyone who's local in the Bay Area, you have to subscribe to this newsletter because it's like your single source for stuff that's happening every single day around tech. So make sure you do that. For people anywhere else in the country or the world for that matter, you still get the information in the newsletter. There's a lot of great content. There's virtual events that I imagine are being held or going to be held. A lot of content that you can watch, but the overall networking can still happen virtually. When you have a group of people that are committed to helping each other out and sharing and being part of a national and a global community, it doesn't really matter where you're based. So I'd encourage everybody to reach out, get that newsletter, connect or follow Marianne on LinkedIn. And again, it's crazy. It's only been 1 year. So make a simple investment and your ROI 3 years down the road is going to be absolutely incredible. I won't even talk about five years down the road because you're probably going to be in 9 cities and that 45,000 community is probably going to be 1 million. And I'm going to look back and say, I can't believe I had Marianne on my podcast for the inaugural episode.
You are so kind. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure. And that's a wrap. Cheers, Marianne. The Startup Innovators podcast is provided by MatchStar Venture Search. If you are interested in any of our executive roles or need help sourcing world-class talent for your company, check out our website at matchstar.com.